All right, it's the two-man crew edition of the Slate, the Bash Brothers, whatever you want to call it, a two-man wrecking crew, the Brothers of Destruction, whatever you want to call Matt LaMarca and Steve Buchanan. We're going to be here for the next half hour or so, breaking down this MLB slate, then touching on a little bit of football, which is right around the corner. Obviously, I don't need to tell you that. LaMarca is with the stunner shades, ready here on a Friday, long weekend Friday coming up. He's looking smooth as hell. I almost dropped an F-bomb. I felt it coming, but I was able to stop it because that's just how I want to describe Matt LaMarca. But here we are, Friday, right before Labor Day weekend. Everybody's getting ready to leave, but before we can leave, maybe we can make a little bit of money. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, man. Last official weekend of the summer. Starting next week, my schedule becomes just pure chaos. So I'm celebrating. I'm enjoying it. I got the shades on, got my floral. You know, everybody loves a big man in a floral shirt. So let's party. Let's have some fun today, Steve.
Let's talk about this 13-game MLB slate we have coming up here tonight. Pitching is at a premium, it feels like. In the DFS world, we'll talk about some of those guys there. Let's just get your thoughts here on some of the more expensive guys. We have 7 guys in the 9K or above range, starting off with Sandy Alcantara, who Don Mattingly is like really just wants to kill or something by the end of this season. I have never seen somebody consistently go as deep into games as he does. Whereas the rest of the pitching staff, like Pablo Lopez especially, he's pulling him after 4 innings and like 75 pitches. He's like, all right, you're done. But Alcantara, like, I don't know if like somebody's got something on one or the other that this keeps happening, but going up against the Braves tonight has done well, extremely well in 2 starts against this team already. 17 innings pitched, only 1 run allowed, earned run allowed, I should say, 4 altogether. But he's wiped the floor of this team. Is this where you're starting your lineup with tonight?
Nah, I'm going to pass on Sandy. I think even in a tough matchup, he's going to garner some ownership.
Yeah.
And he's just so much more expensive than some of the other arms on this slate. I mean, including Charlie Morton on the other side. I think you can make a case that, you know, price considered, Charlie Morton's the better play in this matchup, right? He's the favorite. You know, that means the Marlins are expected to score less runs than the Braves. Charlie Morton has kind of been piling up the strikeouts of late. So I think that this is a spot where I'm not really interested in paying the big price tag on Sandy.
I'm with you on Morton. I think actually Morton is one of the more intriguing plays on this slate tonight. If you talk about how these offenses have performed in the second half of the season, the Marlins are yet to score 100 runs. Since the All-Star break has happened, they're the only team in Major League Baseball that have scored under 100 runs, 97 total runs scored. As you would imagine, that's the lowest in the league. No other team is struggling as bad as the Marlins have been. As a club, they're hitting 222 since the All-Star break. It has been absolutely putrid for this team so far. They did touch up Morton a little bit in that first start that he made back in May, 3 runs on 7 hits through 5 1/3 innings. But I think it's fair to say that Morton has actually been better as the season has gone on. He was somebody that was really struggling in the month of April and May. At one point, I think in the month of May, he ended up having an ERA for the month of above 7. But since then, he's really been locked in since that All-Star break, getting a really good matchup here against the Marlins tonight, getting this at home. So I like him a lot in that 9K range. And I think it's a great point. I think a lot of people are going to be paying up for Sandy. Rightfully so. There's nobody who has a better chance of going 9 innings than him for whatever reason that the Marlins keep doing this to him. And he's your odds-on Cy Young Award winner on the sportsbook right now. I think it's minus 700 he's up to right now. So a lot of ownership is going to be going that way. Let me get your thoughts on Dustin May going up against the Padres. Now, this is somebody that the Dodgers have really been excited to get back into this rotation. He's only made 2 starts thus far, both against the Marlins. So you imagine he's done very well. But going up against a Padres team that is extremely tough to strike out. When they brought on guys like Juan Soto, the K rate for the team, the average K rate absolutely plummeted because Soto is one of the hardest guys to strike out. That being said, I don't know if you've watched Dustin May pitch. He's just
filthy.
He's filthy. He's absolutely filthy. Some of the stuff that he has coming out of his hand, it looks like straight up alien stuff when the ball moves on some of his pitches. 10,100 though. So I don't mind the matchup, but I think I do mind a lot the salary. What are your thoughts on him? Because he would be the second most expensive guy on the slate aside from Sandy.
I do think he's a player to be overweight on. I don't think it's going to take a lot to do that. You know, like if you have 10% Dustin May tonight, I think you're probably overweight on the field. There are obviously still some pitch count concerns. He's thrown 71 and 86 pitches in his 2 starts. So you look at the innings, right? 5 innings, 6 innings, that's good, but he's been very efficient. So if he's not the same level of efficient today, I do think that his pitches are probably going to be capped in that 90 range. But that said, as you mentioned, Steve, the guy is just so good, right? Like I think that even if he does throw just 90 pitches, he still has the potential to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. I mean, the Padres are obviously a significantly tougher matchup than the Marlins, but he scored over 30 DraftKings points in a start where he threw less than 80 pitches his first game back. So I think the ceiling is still there. The ownership won't be there. And that's a combination that I think is appealing for tournaments.
A couple other guys I just want to touch upon before we move over to the offense here. Jordan Montgomery going against the Cubs tonight. Still getting that chatter if the Yankees should have moved on from Montgomery, especially after Cortez just recently went on the IL. That forces them to use guys like Clark Schmidt in the rotation, who has not exactly performed like somebody you would want in that Yankees rotation during the month of September. Montgomery finally got touched up in a start under a Cardinals uniform. The last start he made against the Braves, who, mind you, are a very good offense against lefties. 5 runs on 8 hits through just 5 innings, struck out 4 in that one. That's really been the only blip on the radar that he's endured since he's gone on to go to the Cardinals. Now he's facing the Cubs for the second time this season. By far, well, maybe his second best start that he's made in the Cardinals uniform. I would give the honors to the one against the Yankees. Only 5 innings in that one, but struck out 11 against his former team. But complete game shutout, a 1-hitter in that one against the Cubs just a few weeks ago, 10 strikeouts in that one. What do you think about him at 9,200 tonight facing this Cubs team for the second time?
Yeah, I'm fine with him. I don't think he's like a slam dunk type of option. I mean, he's clearly been pitching above his peripherals of late. I'd much rather have Charlie Morton for an extra $100. Like the difference in ownership, I don't think is going to be like that wide. So I would take Morton for an extra 100.
And then one other guy I want to touch on here is Lance McCullers Jr. going up against the Angels, recently back off the IL. Has looked pretty solid so far. Very, very short sample size. Some of his advanced stats say he hasn't been as good as we've seen thus far. I believe his expected ERA is about 2 runs higher than his 1.69 ERA shows at the moment, but really hasn't faced a tough schedule thus far. Not going to get that tonight against a franchise that should be banished for life in the Los Angeles Angels, holding hostage 2 of the best players in Major League Baseball. Thank God they're up for sale. Get rid of that team, put it in somebody who's capable of running an organization. But the strikeout upside is what really is the appeal for me here. We really haven't seen that from McCullers thus far. Did strike out over an average of a batter per inning in that second start against Atlanta, who is also a team that strikes out a lot. But 8,800 feels to be a pretty fair price for the strikeout upside that we have seen from him in the past. Still on, the jury's still out as he's going to regain that type of swing and miss rate that he had before. But the walks are a little bit of a concern too. So what are your thoughts about him going against the Angels? I do like him tonight, but maybe others are feeling the same way as well.
Yeah, I don't love the upside with him. I mean, he's kind of similar to May in that his pitch count is going to be limited. And unlike May, he hasn't displayed the same swing and miss stuff this season. So I think if you are going to try and play a contrarian option, I would rather go up to Dustin May. Maybe this is the breakout spot for McCullers, but I kind of need to see it before I'm going to believe it.
And then one quick note I just want to make about this too as well. Cody Morris is going to make in the start for the Cleveland Guardians tonight. It was Zach Plesac, but I guess he has a fracture in his pitching hand, and that just kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere because that was dropped. Say again?
Seems suboptimal for pitching.
Right, exactly. I would assume that his season is done, but that news was kind of just dropped about an hour and a half ago. There wasn't any indication that he was going to be missing this start. So, the Seattle Mariners were going to win anyways, but looking like they're going to win, I believe it's their fifth in a row, going up against Cody Morris and their ace, Luis Castillo, going up on the mound tonight against the Guardians. But I will say, at least for DFS purposes, probably not the best spot to be taking Castillo with the limited amount of strikeout upside the Cleveland Guardians does give. They are one of the toughest teams in the league to strike out. Looking on the offensive side, is there anything that kind of jumped out at you for tonight? I do feel like the pitching drops off rather
I'm just going to
dramatically.
do a couple more quick pitching hits.
Oh, sure.
First, David Peterson is a slam dunk cash game option. He's 8,300. He's a massive favorite at minus 275. The Nationals have the lowest implied team total on the slate. Like, you just kind of have to play him in cash games, I think, at 8,300. Yeah. If you want to fade him in tournaments, he's going to be very popular. I think that's okay. But Peterson has been really very good this season. He just hasn't been given a consistent opportunity to start. So I think he's kind of the no-brainer cash game play. I really like Jeffrey Springs at 7,300 against the Yankees.
Hey, real quick. Who is Peterson in the rotation for right now?
They kind of have 6 guys in the rotation.
Okay, is that what they're doing? Okay. Because I was thinking, I don't remember anyone being injured. So, okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, they're trying to give, everybody just a little bit of extra rest.
Yeah, that's fair.
Jeffrey Springs, 7,300 against the Yankees. The Yankees aren't the Yankees right now, right? Yeah. Their offense, you look at it, it just is not an intimidating group. They called up a top prospect yesterday in Oswald Peraza. And of course, he's not in the lineup today. Makes a ton of sense. So you look at what Springs has done. The guy has just been nails for us all season, returning value. So I have no problem paying 7,300 for him, even in a quote unquote tough spot against the Yankees. And then finally, if you want to go super cheap, I like Daniel Lynch against the Tigers. The Tigers have been a bit better against left-handers than they have against right-handers this season, but they still stink. And Lynch is a $6,100 pitcher. So yeah.
I'm with you. No, I think Lynch is one of the more decent value plays here tonight. The Tigers as a whole, one of the worst offenses in the league, not just altogether, but specifically against lefties, have no issues with taking Mr. Lynch tonight, even though his stats are nothing mind-boggling, nothing that's going to blow you over. But you know what? You can blow past the Tigers no matter who's on the mound. You in that shirt and those sunglasses could blow past half of the Tigers' teammates there, especially Javier Baez. Oh my goodness, that man. Imagine giving that man any money. It's absolutely unbelievable here. Okay, let's talk about the offense here real quick. I know we want to jam as much as we can in the show here. Was there any offenses or any stacks that kind of stuck out to you looking over the slate earlier today?
So Boston's going to be the most popular. They're taking on Dallas Keuchel, who has been out of the league for a while. And, when he was pitching, that was just an absolute disaster. So they're going to be super popular, but I like the Cardinals going up against Adrian Sampson.
I'm with you.
Specifically because I love Lars Nootbaar. I mean, first off, phenomenal name. If he doesn't have something worked out with like Hershey's or somebody to produce a Nootbaar, it's just terrible marketing. Lars, hit me up if you need more management ideas. But Lars Nootbaar has just been absolutely raking since the All-Star break, specifically against right-handed pitching. And you now put him in front of, the Cardinals' other top hitters who have also just crushed all year. Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, Corey Dickerson, who is priced at the minimum.
Yeah.
Despite somehow he was 10 for 10 the other day in a doubleheader. He's priced at the minimum. And then Brendan Donovan is 2,700 and he's batting second. Like, I think the Cardinals are very affordable. You are going to have to pay up for, the big studs, but the small price tags on the rest of the guys around them make that very feasible.
Yeah, Sampson, 366 WAR against righties so far this season. Massive difference from what he is against lefties, but the lefties that are in this lineup are extremely affordable. I mean, aside from Nolan Gorman at 4,400, you got, like you said, Dickerson, Donovan Newbar, all under 3K or below. So, I mean, just extremely affordable, however you want to stack up this Cardinals team against Samson here tonight. One stack that I did like tonight as well. I like the Houston Astros going against Reed Detmers. He's been a little bit better on the mound, but Houston continues to be one of the better offenses in the league against lefties. But more importantly, the Angels bullpen has just been an absolute disaster. The whole team, like I said, the whole franchise is a disaster. It doesn't matter. If you're wearing an Angels uniform, you're probably a disaster unless your name is Shohei Ohtani or Mike Trout. Doesn't matter. Everybody else has just been a gas can. But truly overall, Reed Detmers going against the Astros. Don't like that spot for him against the Houston Astros, who are extremely good against lefties. That was one of my favorite ones there tonight as well. Is there anything else you want to hit on offensively before we switch over to the sportsbook side?
Let's switch.
Okay, let's go over to the sportsbook side here tonight. Now, you commented on this about this take that I gave earlier in the week about the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, terrible take.
See, that's why we're here. We're going to talk about it here. Now, many thought that it was potentially a terrible take. But I also will say that people said that the Robbie Ray thing was also a terrible take at the time. So I am okay with that. That is absolutely not true at all. If I went through and found that some mentions people would say he was a terrible take. I stand by it. I said it. I'll be a man about it. If they do make the playoffs, then fine. You know, I will stand in front of the people and say that it was a bad take. But you think it's just they're just going to coast into the playoffs.
I don't know about coast, but Fangraphs gives them a 90% chance of making the playoffs right now. Mm-hmm. I think that they've built up enough of a cushion that they can hold off. Maybe not the Blue Jays, but they're going to hold off the Orioles and whoever comes second and third in the AL Central. So I think it's just too much. I think it's just too much. Not enough time for anybody to overtake the Rays. I don't think you're getting a good enough price. That's the difference for me with your Robbie Ray take, right? You were getting 80-1 on that. You're not getting 80-1 on this.
Right. But what would you say about the schedule that they're about to endure? They have one of the toughest schedules left. They're playing a lot in the AL East. The majority of their games left are between the Yankees, Blue Jays, and Houston Astros. So it's not like they have an easy schedule coming up. They just lost Shane McClanahan. They just lost Lowe. Their pitching has been beat up. And that's kind of where I was going here. Now, people in my mentions, the Tampa Bay Rays fans, all 13 of them were very upset with me on Monday, even though I didn't say anything disparaging about their team. But that's kind of where I was leaning. They have a very, very tough schedule. I'm not saying they're a bad team. I'm just saying they might be lucky to come out of the month of September as playing 500 ball when some of the teams below them, like the Twins, for example, who are now playing well, could jump into that third wild card spot.
It's possible. I think Tampa Bay's good enough that they're going to win more of these games than they lose. I mean, it is going to be very interesting, right? Because Tampa and Toronto play 9 times still this season.
Yeah.
Baltimore plays Toronto 10 times this season. Like, there's a lot left to be decided amongst these AL East teams, but I feel like we've kind of just seen them beat up on each other all year. Like, they're going to go 500. That's just what's going to happen. They're going to go 500 against each other.
But there you have it.
I don't think any of those central teams are good enough, right? Like, so the Twins have a better schedule, but I don't really care about that. They don't have Byron Buxton. I don't think they're very good.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But you know what? Sometimes to become a legend, you have to make these type of calls. And if they happen, then you look like a genius.
Steve, if anything, you, my friend, are certainly a legend in your own mind.
You are absolutely correct. And nobody else thinks that. But at least I do. Right? That's all that matters. If I go to bed saying you are a legend, then I can hang my hat on that, put it on my gravestone when I die in early death. Okay, let's talk about the sportsbook side tonight on some of the bets that you can make in Major League Baseball. There's a few plays that I like here tonight, but want to kind of get your thoughts here to start here. Is there any game or even any prop that kind of caught your eye looking at for tonight?
I'm taking the Twins. I normally like to bet underdogs. They're minus 135 on the road, but
Yeah.
the White Sox, they're without Eloy Jimenez at the moment. They're starting Joe Kelly, who has an ERA over 7 this season as an opener. And then they're handing it to a long relief, guy who's going to pitch the bulk of the innings, who has like a 5 ERA this season.
Yeah.
Sonny Gray is good. The White Sox offense stinks. I think that they deserve to be at least like minus 150 in this spot. So I think minus 135 is a good price.
I like Phillies and Giants to go under 7.5 tonight in San Francisco. You got Kyle Gibson and Alex Cobb. Alex Cobb has been way better at home than he has been on the road, and he's inducing like a 61% ground ball rate. Like, that's absolutely absurd. If you're getting that many ground balls and you're in San Francisco, whatever the hell they call that park now, I can't keep up with it. Everybody changes is it still Oracle? Okay. You know what it is? Chicago. The White Sox, they've changed their name like 5 times over the past 10 years. Now it's like guaranteed rate, crypto, Bitcoin stadium, whatever the crap it is. But like, I don't care. You know what? Bring me to the ballpark. I'll go. Make it Dodger Stadium. Like, that's the easiest one around. Dodger Stadium. Love it. Love it. Keeps it simple. I don't care about all these advertisements. Anyways, Cobb, much better at home than he is on the road. Kyle Gibson's actually been pitching much better in the second half too as well. Also somebody who can induce a lot of ground balls. Giants offense has been one of the worst in Major League Baseball coming out of the month of August. They only scored more runs than the Nationals, Athletics, and Tigers during the month of August. So you want to talk about, just putrid offenses. The Giants should be in that realm too as well. So I think both these guys can do well through the first half of the game. Bullpens close this one out. Under 7.5 runs is one that I like. One quick player prop that I want to get into is the strikeout prop for Alek Manoah. It's actually gone down. This was at 6.5 at plus money. It's down to 5.5 or at minus 140. Probably don't want to pay the minus 140 for that, but originally, I did like this one. The Pirates are one of the more strikeout-prone teams in all of baseball, and Manoah had gone over 6.5 strikeouts in 2 straight starts. He has gone over this number 3 times against teams who are relatively the same in K rate as well. This Pirates team, swing and miss team, can rack up the strikeouts in this matchup. So I did like Manoah at 6.5. If you don't mind paying the juice on minus 140, obviously 5.5 is there as well. Any other bets you wanted to get to before we talk a little NFL?
I'll double down on the Rays, minus 130 tonight. I really like Springs, and I really dislike this Yankees lineup at the moment. Domingo Germán has been okay. He's pitched better recently, but we know what Domingo Germán is. He's not like a guy that you have to fear on the mound. I think the Rays, the way things are constructed right now with this Yankees lineup, like the Rays might be the better team. And that pains me to say as somebody who has been kind of driving the Yankees bandwagon all year, but they are not the same team right now. So give me the Rays minus 130.
Would you be interested in under 7.5? Because that's kind of where I was leaning a little bit with how that lineup looks. Yeah,
that's okay. That's fine. I mean, you're getting roughly the same odds on both. I feel more confident in the Rays' ability to win the game, just because I'm not. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to me if Germán gave up a solid handful of runs.
This is only going to be the 10th time this season that the Yankees have been underdogs. They've gone 5-4 in those scenarios, which actually I was a bit surprised about. That they're basically just over 500 in games that they have been underdogs. They haven't exactly crushed it in those scenarios. All right, let's take a look at the NFL board. Obviously, everything is kicking off next week. Bills at Rams kicking off, and that one should be a really good game there. I can go wherever you want here. Obviously, you're excited for football. Your schedule is about to be enamored with tons of Matt LaMarca content. Where are you looking here on the week 1 board? What's caught your eye so far?
Well, I'm going to go in, as usual, in a completely different direction because I'm allowed to do whatever I want.
You absolutely are.
I think this is kind of like a very big weekend for fantasy football drafts. There's going to be a ton of drafts coming off the board. Sure. So I'm going to throw out some of my favorite guys, maybe like one guy at each position.
Okay.
That I feel very good about. At quarterback, this is probably going to surprise you. I like Daniel Jones. If you're waiting If you're playing in like a super flex league, most of my leagues at this point are super flex leagues. I feel like they're just more fun. There's so many good quarterbacks, and if you're only playing in a one quarterback league, nobody takes one. It's stupid to me. It's the most important position in football. Let's glamorize it a little bit. So I think Daniel Jones, the schedule is very friendly for him. And he's provided nice rushing upside when he has been healthy. I think that he is like a very solid quarterback too this season. At running back, feed me all the J.K. Dobbins. I love J.K. Dobbins. He averaged 6 yards per carry as a rookie. Didn't play last season, but all accounts are that he's fine. He's ahead of schedule. He looks good in camp. There's some concern that he may not play in week 1. So what? That's 1 week. Right. If we have to wait until week 2 to get him on the field, I think that's more than okay. I believe in the guy's talent, and I think that he is going to have a big year. At wide receiver.
Real quick, though, with Dobbins, do you feel like he's a prime candidate for some touchdown regression, though, this year?
I mean, you always have to worry. Lamar Jackson is going to be a threat near the goal line. Gus Edwards will be back at some point. But the Ravens are invested in Dobbins, and I think he has the opportunity to play his way into not necessarily a feature back role, but I think he can take over a larger portion. And again, 6 yards per carry as a rookie. We know the Ravens can run the ball well. I think he's the most talented rusher they've had in a while. Wide receiver, Christian Kirk. Not a sexy name, right?
No.
But the Jaguars just paid him a buttload of money. He's basically like the cheapest wide receiver one that you will find for an NFL team. And Kirk was pretty good in Arizona. I think he's going to get a ton of volume this year. We saw it we've seen it basically like every year with Marvin Jones. If you can get volume as a team's top receiver, you're going to outperform your average draft position. I think he's a very cheap guy that can be an every week type of starter for you. And finally, tight end. This might be my favorite guy just across all positions. I love David Njoku. David Njoku is my guy this season. I am flag planting him. He will be a top 5 fantasy football tight end this season.
Sure.
He has historically been a dude that is just super productive when on the field, but he's had to split snaps. That is not going to be the case this season. He is going to be the Browns' full-time tight end. I don't care who he's catching passes from. He's one of the better athletes in the league at the position. I think David Njoku provides massive fantasy value this season.
Well, because not only that, the Browns ended up releasing Austin Hooper, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah.
He's by himself.
Yep. And when Brissett was with the Colts, he was all over Jack Doyle at the time. When
everybody loves a tight end, you know?
Right.
Just like everybody loves a big guy in a floral shirt.
I mean, two examples that could not be more true than what you just said. The tight end and the floral shirt. One guy that I've been on later in drafts, I absolutely love taking Tony Pollard, especially with the idea of how thin the Cowboys are going to be at receiver, at least for the first few weeks. James Washington starting on the IR. Michael Gallup is not ready to return. And then you got CeeDee Lamb, obviously, without Amari Cooper. But it feels like Tony Pollard is going to be that guy that, yes, maybe Zeke's going to be the one that's going to be taking the bulk of the carries. But Tony Pollard, I think, is just going to be such a massive asset in the passing game and catching out of the backfield that I just love his draft position right now, like going late in like 8th, 9th, 10th round at this point, when in reality, he could end up being one of the more, especially from a PPR standpoint, one of their best receivers, especially early in the season. And then if Zeke really just gets injured or doesn't start performing, like Pollard is in more of a position to take that RB1 role. And I feel like we kind of saw that near the end of the year as well. So I'm actually surprised that he is still getting drafted as late as he is, especially with some of these more recent Cowboy injuries with Gallup, because, I don't think we ever expected Gallup to be ready for week 1, but it sounds like it could end up being a little bit longer too for him to get back on the field. And Jerry Jones has said that they are not going out to the market to grab another wide receiver. So they could just be using their in-house options, and Pollard could be one of them. So that's something I've really been high on over the past few weeks while we're doing our drafts.
Love it. Yeah, I think he's a solid RB3.
Yeah.
with Zeke healthy. And then if Zeke gets hurt, he instantly becomes a top 10 option at the position.
And then that would be an absolute steal at that point. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for this edition of the Slate. Coming up next in Simland, Raiders at Panthers. That's coming up next. Make sure to lock in your lineups within the next few minutes here. From Matt LaMarca, I am Steve Buchanan. He will catch you next week. I am Dunzo for the Slate on Friday. So we will catch you some other time. Okay, bye.